Hey Deckers, what is going on? What's the word? What's the word? Okay, we're only 6 minutes late today. Isn't that fun? And I am Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer, coming at you from the dark side of the room. And I have a very special guest today, and my friend, we recently became friends, and I did not know that unlike a lot of the new people I've been meeting, he lives relatively close to the Wizard's Tower, considering. But this man today, he is an award-winning illustrator, a writer, got a write-up in Any Cool News, one of the co-founders of his own publishing company. So we are talking to a man that can show that no matter where you come from or how much you got to start with, you work hard enough in the right direction, and you can start getting your own stuff out there your own way as well. I want to welcome to the show my good friend Jsson Reeves. How you doing, man?
Hey man, what's going on? Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you for showing up, man. And I am so sorry for all of the what is the term I'm looking for? All of the scheduling kerfuffles, man. There has been a major thing. But
Mm.
before we get started talking about your new book, I gotta go beg for money because you know how that one is. And to let everybody out there know that if they want to join the show, all right, no, I ain't wrapping it up. I'm just getting started. All right, I'm just getting started. Knock it off with the wrap it up. You know what? I'm not going to deal with your wrap it up music because this, is going to be the intro music. How's that? I'm the master of my own destiny. So, if you guys are new to the show and you want to say something and all that stuff, you can easily do so because I'm rather interactive right here in the chat. And if you are watching on the YouTubes, then you can talk right there in the chat as well. And I got the major shout outs to you guys and all that stuff. But if you want to be part of the show and all that stuff, it's very easy. All you got to do, if you don't want to have a whole conversation and you just want me to read an email because that's the kind of thing that makes you feel special, I know I like it. All you got to do is pull up your keyboard and type in backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK at gmail.com. Or reach out to me on the Twitter. That's right. You can hit me up on Twitter at the same thing, at backinthedeck. That's at BACKINTHEDECK. Or Instagram, because let's face it, those are the two social medias that everybody's got. Not to mention that wretched hive of scum and villainy known as Facebook. You can reach out to me and leave me a message or show me your art and all that stuff over at Deckers on the Book. Now, if you guys really need some eye bleach, because I know I do sometimes, all you got to do is head over to, see there, you guys are already starting with all that right now. But if you need some eye bleach, because I spend a lot of time on the internet and I'm just like, God, is everything insane? Then just head on over to TikTok, go past all the Nazis and stuff on there, and go to at Big P, that's BIDPY, and check out the musical adventures of Lil Saul while he sings to you with some of your favorite musics from every genre all around the world. Right now, he's in the hospital, he's getting his arms extended, and he's gonna be coming back, and who knows, maybe he might be dropping down a little bit of that Wu-Tang out there. I think he's a Method Man fan. And if you guys want to keep the lights on for us and help us out, because let's face it, it's the holiday time, everybody's broke, including us. All you gotta do is subscribe to the channel. Subscribe right here on Twitch with your Amazon Prime account. That way, it don't cost you no money, and it really helps us a lot. It helps us stay open and all that stuff. Now, if you've got some spare cash and you're going, you know what, or as I like to say, if you're only going to give once, okay, if you're only going to give once, then head on over to patreon.com/BID_P and join our Patreon, okay, at $1. That's less than the actual cost of an Arizona iced tea. You can watch all the shows commercial free. You get a cool little keychain. You help us, you really help me pay the electricity and the internet bill because curse you, Spectrum! And you really do some cool stuff. And when I say cool stuff, if you hit the $20 tier, the royalty tier, queens, kings, and aces, you guys help us fund our community outreach where we teach art and miniature painting and 3D design and 3D printing, along with archery, sword fighting, um, role playing games, writing workshops, statistics workshop for underserved communities at community centers. I only charge them $4 because they need to buy their own dice. And outside of that, our royalty tier pays for everything. And I'm talking the bows, the arrows, the helmets to make sure that when they're swinging sticks at each other, learning how to sword fight, they don't actually hurt nobody. The 3D printers that I set up in the community centers, and I leave them for the kids in the neighborhoods to use under the premise of each one, teach one. And that is actually funded by our queens, kings, and aces that get shout outs at every single transmission. Like I'm shouting out to our queen, Laura Holton, our queen, Jennifer Crow, and don't think I forgot about y'all kings, like King, His Majesty, His Grace, Christopher Chalmers, and His Grace for the month of December, Mr. Jason Hines, and of course, our ace in the hole, Shaylee Watson. Thank you guys for your support. Thank you guys for helping me give back to the community under which I came from. And like I said last week, Mr. Hines sent in a great big box of donation with a miniatures game for Fallout that I can teach the kids and all that stuff. Because, yeah, and if you guys are wondering, yes, we do take donations. Send an email at backinthedeck@gmail.com if you're looking to get rid of some of your old game stuff and all that stuff because it's old to you, but it's new to them. I don't look at it as hand-me-downs. I look at it as passing the torch. So, with that, let's get to today's show. So, Jason, man, hang on. Let me pull up my screen where I can actually look at your face. So, here we go. So, how you doing, man? How you doing? How's your week been?
Good. I'm good, man. It's starting off nice, getting a little work done. We
Cool.
are winding down on this Kickstarter. We got about 3 days left,
I
and
bet.
the pressure is just slowly dissipating. So that's good.
Really?
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
yeah.
I know there's been a lot of stuff going on um, with um, with the supply chain. And a lot of
Mhm.
books are coming out a little bit late right now. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a bit of a thing. Is that something that's been affecting you and everything over at 133 Art?
Yeah. As a printer, the one side of 133 Art is a print company, and the supply chain has, yeah, unfortunately, has hit us. Supplies are more expensive than they were, harder to get, and I mean, you can see actually right behind me, I have a backstop because I had to put a little money into getting a backstop so that we can continue printing through the month of December. It cost a grip. Also, your machine has our machine has like its ebbs and flows and stuff like that, and sometimes things break down. It's harder to get parts. Parts are more expensive, so we've been dealing with some ups and
Feeling that.
downs.
I'm
Yeah,
really feeling
yeah,
that.
we've been dealing with some ups and downs as a result of the supply chain issues, which really sucks. I
Yeah, but
one thing,
in the words of Lando Calrissian, it's all a part of being responsible.
yeah,
Don't get me wrong, you still can't trust a Negro with hair that good, but I'm kidding. I'm kidding because I'm just sitting up going, yeah. But could I get you to turn the volume on your mic up?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm doing the best I can over here to get you a little bit cleaner.
Yeah, let me throw the headphones on here.
Oh,
How's that?
okay.
Better?
Oh, much better. Much
Mm.
better. Yeah, so that's a thing. All right. So yeah. So man, all right. So let's get into this whole thing because I don't do the normal interview format of small talk, plug, and then commercial break. What I actually do is I do commercial break and then plug, and then we get into real conversation. So we are gonna
Yeah.
be right back, you guys. I know. Okay, I know. Y'all hate the commercials. I don't like the commercials and all that stuff. But Mr. Twitch is literally outside the Wizard's Tower with a baseball bat full of nails. And if I do not run these ads, I might not be here for y'all tomorrow. Now you can get past it by subscribing with your with your good old fashioned Amazon Prime account. So we will be back in a minute. All right, yeah. So yeah, are you happy, Mister Twitch? Yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, it's a real thing. So by the way, when we get done with this, you can totally share this whole show and this interview with your people. I'll give you the YouTube link and all that, so so they can watch from the future. you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw it up on the Kickstarter
Yeah.
update. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, no, that's a whole thing. That is a whole thing out there. But yeah, I get these supply chain issues, man. One of the printers in the farm needs needs some parts, and I'm like, okay, I will just hit the place I bought it from because I bought locally for just this reason, and they're like, yeah, bro, it's on the boat. Come on, you were living in Long Beach when you bought this. You know what it looks like out there. And I'm
It's
like,
been rough, man. The guy that repairs my printer, he's local, and he's been pulling his hair out trying to figure out how to get
yeah,
everything.
well, it's a thing, Something like a global pandemic has ripple effects that goes out to everything from
Mm-hmm.
healthcare to supply chain to transportation. There was a whole bunch of bus drivers and train conductors that were getting sick during the main part of the pandemic. So now they're out. So everything is going to be a little wonky
Yeah.
for about another year.
Yep.
So that's just
Been rough.
and that's just me looking at things with my wizard's eye. And we are back. Oh man. So yeah, for those of you guys just getting here, we are here with Jsson Reeves, illustrator and founder of 133 Art. Um,
Hey,
so we were talking about the supply chain and all that stuff. But why are we talking about the supply chain? Because this man has a new book over on Kickstarter. You want to tell us about that, man?
dude, our newest book is the second issue of our series Changa and the Jade Obelisk, and we're running a Kickstarter trying to get some funding to produce that thing. Thankfully, though, I don't anticipate the supply chain issues hitting us for that because the delivery date is May 2022 on this campaign. So that should be well out enough that we can fulfill everything.
Nice, nice. Now, like real talk, a lot of the stuff that's been going on lately.
Mhm.
You have been an independent publisher, um, for for your own projects and some projects that friends and stuff, doing the milestone start. Um, I know that has not been easy.
No. It's challenging, but at the same time, I love it. I mean, my background has always been comics. Like since I'm 10 years old, I knew that this is what I wanted to do with my life. Like people, nobody knew how to get there. Like my parents and relatives or whoever, all the support systems that you have as a kid, if you have that, that was a weird goal for them. So uh,
Well, how
I've been
so?
in.
How so? Like you have the support
Um,
system and
well, so my parents. Well, first thing, my parents are immigrants. So both my parents are from Jamaica. My dad had been on his own since he was 14 years old. He didn't have a lot of education, and my mom, while she did have education, she didn't know anything about arts or careers in arts and illustration. And then even going, to that other tier, that sort of subgenre, comic book art, like a lot of people don't have an idea of what that entails.
yeah.
I
No,
mean,
that's
it's
that's
not
a
that
real
they
thing.
were. Yeah, they weren't a hindrance. They always told me I can do things and you can do whatever you need to do, but the knowledge isn't basically there for that kind of thing, right? Today we have like schools dedicated to that career, like SCAD and SCAD Atlanta, and all the various um, arts arts stations and stuff like that. But back in the day, not so much.
You know what? I am very glad that you brought that up. I talk a lot to millennials and Zoomers in everyday life, and here on the channel, whenever we're out there, letting them know, like, look, I'm an old man, but I get you. All right, I get you, and that's a great thing that I'm glad that you brought up with the being brought up with the idea that you can do anything. Oh, you can't hear me? Oh, okay, hang on. Yeah, there we go. All right, what's going on, Red Hulk 06? Yeah, this whole idea of you can do anything you set your mind to, and all of that stuff that we were told when we were kids. No, you can do it. There's no excuses. You can do anything you set your mind to. The whole world is yours. All this wonderful stuff. But what they don't take in mind, or what they don't communicate, is though we are capable of doing anything. However, having potential and capability is a lot different from having access to resources and access to knowledge. And that is something that a lot of people from the disenfranchised sector, I'm talking people of color, women, LGBTQ, the physically disabled, the neurodivergent, and the fiscally disenfranchised, because let's be real, Trailer Park is only down the street from the projects. For those of us that grew up in them circumstances, we knew we could accomplish anything if we could get a chance or if we could find a teacher. And our parents growing up, my mom, I talk about her a lot on the channel, an amazing artist, amazing. And she always wanted to do makeup for the movie industry, but she didn't know where to go. Like, she went to beauty school. She graduated and card carrying beautician. She ran the salon out of the kitchen, but she didn't know how to get into the Hollywood, or get into other stuff. I think I'm losing your audio too. Um, but yeah, so this idea of you can do anything you want, anything you set your mind to, anything, um, that is all dependent on if you have access to those gates, the gates of who to talk to, where to go, that kind of thing. You back? We're having a little bit of a sound issue here today. Try me.
You got me?
Oh yeah,
You
that's so much better. That's so much better. Um, so yeah, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because a lot of us in my generation and the generation following have a little bit of a support network of people that support our thoughts, instead of like, oh, you want to go make movies? Although I spend all my time on Netflix, you need to get a secure job, a real job. Go work at an office, especially people in the arts of your thing of visual art, a lot of writers and stuff out there. It's like, well, how you gonna pay the bills? It's like, I'm gonna get published. That's how I'm gonna pay the bills. you know. Um,
It's
yeah, but they just might not know how, like, they really don't know anything about those things, and they talk to us from a place of fear. They're afraid we're going to starve to death, and what they know is working day in day out for a company that you hate. um will keep a roof over your head. It might run away at your health, but at least it'll keep some semblance of food in your stomach and a roof over your head. So support networks are different for everybody, but for all y'all out there like us from the disenfranchised sector, um, it don't all look the same. It don't all look the same. And I
yeah,
know you're from good old Nolens, the United States South, the southern section of the United States of America.
dirty,
Um,
dirty.
yeah, the dirty South. Dirty South with the best food and some of the best music. um, you know, but so yeah, it's good that you had a support network, at least an emotional and a mental support network when you said, I want to make pictures for a living. So talk about that just for a hot minute.
Oh yeah, man. My mom, and my dad really believe in us. They wanted us to do whatever it is that made us happy.
Hmm.
They weren't perfect people, but on that level, they were wonderful. They were amazing. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of as far as it goes for their knowledge. Like you said, the knowledge just wasn't there, and it came to it was me who had to kind of figure out for myself, yo, how do I get from this point A to point B where I am now? And a lot of it was uh, just trying and failing.
Hmm.
Um, I would go to the local comic shop once I knew we got cool with the owners, and we would do our little books on typing paper and staple them in the middle, and she would sell them. She was so supportive about that. Miss Pauline from the Bookworm back in the day, man, she was so supportive. Shout out to Miss Pauline. And so we would do that, and we would like trade our own comics in middle school between the guys that could draw, and we all had comic book companies. Um, we would all come up with names for our companies as kids. I mean, it was hilarious, in hindsight, but we were kind of training ourselves. I know for me personally, I was training there's something like Comic Con out there, seeing advertisements for the comics reinforced. So, uh, not only my family were support system, but my friends at school and stuff like that. So the guys that kept drawing would always support each other.
Awesome. That is super awesome. And not a lot of people know that is really how these things get started from the ground level. It takes a while, but the Milestone Comics guys, the people who started Marvelous Comics, later became Atlas Comics, then later Marvel Comics when they got Lee and Kirby. Um, you know, Most of the stuff that we do, like, there's this thought in the United States that every person can be a self-built success story. But the real truth of the matter is that somebody had to teach you, somebody had to look at your stuff, somebody had to give you a chance. If you're in business for yourself, somebody had to buy your stuff. It's a
Right.
whole big network that comes along. And yeah, you can come up with the idea, but you don't make the chemicals that make it happen. Everything is interconnected. And the people that really understand this, i.e., tabletop role players coming up with their parties,
Right.
um, that's what we're talking about. Because that whole party of supportive artists, some drop off, some become, some get out of art and get stuck in a real job. And then some of them end up like NWA and Wu Tang and Metallica and all the bands of artists and writers and movie makers and publishers. Because I'll let you know, they all know each other. I go to networking meetings, and a lot of these big names have known each other for decades. Image Comics was even started with a bunch of artists that said, "No, I'm out of this. I'm done." And
It's a lot of collective effort and different levels of support system. Um, I think what fascinates me about Hollywood is how the producers, directors, and then even down to the actors and even the crew, the same people work together on production for years, for decades, like you said.
well,
And when I started paying attention to that, um, I started to see that. what Issa Rae was saying a while back is like true. People, when you're coming up, you're networking sideways. It's not always the thing to network above your station, but sideways. And those people most likely will follow you through your career. Matter of fact, your careers will intertwine. You'll bring each other up.
And that's exactly it. What a lot of people don't understand about becoming successful is again, that networking sideways is super key. But a good amount of the reason that these people know each other, even if they didn't go to school together or grew up in the same state, is when you work on any project, that's a team effort. From comic books to role playing games to TV to movies to music. Um, there are two aspects about it that not a lot of people know, which is each job that you're on is a temp job. You are making something, and the job is over when it's made. So after that job is done, you got to start another job. But that means you got to put together a whole new crew. And every single time you work with a different bunch of people, you learn who's reliable, who isn't, and you tend to hire those people again and again until you, I guess you can say, smooth out your sphere. Like it starts as like a brick, and then as it keeps going, you get this sphere of people that you know their work, you like their work, you like working with them, and eventually you can just roll out all this other stuff, which is why it's a sphere of influence and not like a square. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, man, you're seriously you're making dollars, not cents right now. That is some serious stuff. And speaking of group things, I want to talk a little bit about Changa. Because you are the illustrator on this one.
No, actually, I am just the art director on this one. The art director
Oh yeah,
slash
just the
producer.
art director. Oh no,
Yeah.
I'm just the guy that tells the illustrator whether or not it's crap. I'm just the guy that tells the colorist and the inkers, whether or not it's working. I'm just the head of the art department. That's all.
it sounds it sounds like a more grandiose job than it is. Um, no, Matteo Illuminati is the illustrator on this one, and our colorist is Loris Ravina.
Nice,
Mhm,
nice, very nice. And
mhm,
so yeah, we were talking about it a little bit before the broadcast, and this is kind of very much a Black Panther type hero's journey esque thing that's going on with it.
mhm.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, hang on a minute. I'm trying to pull up the good pictures. I got a
Yeah.
bunch. I got a bunch of a bunch of screens and stuff in here that I'm working on. It's rather
Same.
Doc Ock like.
Same.
Um, and yeah, I got to be an octopus to make all this stuff actually go. So yeah, nope, nope, nope. Why would I do that? I just did that. That's a different link. I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll do it here. Oh no, okay, there we go. That's what I'm looking at. Yeah, open it up, open it up. Thank you. Jeez. Oh man, you know, eventually we will make enough money here for me to hire a team of producers.
Uh,
But until that day, uh, but yeah. So yeah, what we got here is yeah, some great cover art that's happening on that front right there. Changa and the Jade Obelisk. Now this is based in Mogadishu and the
well,
western coast of Africa, right?
yeah, they're so it's like it's an adventure that spans the western coast of Africa, right? So we have like various locations like Issue, where else do they go? They go all over Africa, right? Imagine like Pirates of the Caribbean or whatever, where there's all these different locations that they hit to find the treasure.
I
Right?
don't know about
So
that pirates thing. I'm
basically
just thinking about a bunch of word bubbles that are just mumbling.
that. um, the difference is though Changa is like a boss, right? Like Changa doesn't only command his own ship, which is called the Sindibata, but Changa commands like a small fleet of ships, which they call dhows. And his crew are like just this amazing cadre of people he's picked up along his journey who are down for him and who are ready to do whatever to achieve their goal.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I swear,
yeah.
people only ever call me when I'm on the air. This is so irritating. But yeah, no, I mean, this sounds pretty good. Now, if you guys want to take a look at some of this stuff, um, there is a Kickstarter
Yes.
that is out there, and yeah, the Kickstarter is, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty rocking. It's pretty rocking. Um, One of the things I've noticed, guys, about the 21st century and the online thing is it ain't just enough. It is not just enough um to pledge something and go, yeah, I can't wait for that work to come out. We're talking um, you know, hard copies of the book,
Mhm.
um, you know, cool little
Yeah.
yeah, some concept art, a few props that are coming from that, which is pretty awesome. And yeah, man, this looks like a boss adventure story, and something that a lot of people have probably not seen that much of in this day and
Right.
age. You know,
We we're
um,
trying to put out in 133 Arts mission and MV Media partner in this. MV Media is run by a guy named Milton Davis, who is the actual creator of a series of novels called Changa Safari, which were adapted, and they're novels, a series of novels, and our both of our company's missions is to put black leads first, right? Black God, black superheroes, black adventurers, in this case. Um, so yeah, these are things that people haven't seen. Like we reference Black Panther because it's the closest idea to what we're trying to do, but it's more like, I mean, Chang is closer to Conan than to Chop. You know what I'm
nice,
saying? Like
very nice.
he's a warrior like that.
Yeah,
And yeah, the reason I wanted to do Changa when Milton like hit me up is because it is something that I've never seen before. I can't recall any uh any adventure story where the main guy is this big formidable ship captain, you know? And especially taking place in Africa or on the coast of Africa, trading and making money and you know seeking out treasure and all the intrigue that goes with that. I can't recall anything that has done that.
oh,
So I
not
was like,
not since the '80s. I mean, the closest thing I can
right,
think about would be like the Pirates of Darkwater, which never
right,
finished. You
right,
know?
or maybe like Blackjack. Um, Blackjack was an adventure series starring a main black character. That is the closest. That might be the closest thing, like a pulp action thing, to what we're doing. But man, I would love to see Changa uh, on a streamer. With like a 10 episode first season on a streamer, like
You hear
Changa.
that, Netflix? You hear it?
Yeah,
I know you're not
holla,
watching, but you might in the future. So
holla, holla at your boys. Um,
now,
but
I do wanna comment. Like, I know this
mhm,
is like for black readers first, and I want to focus
mhm,
on that real quick,
mhm.
because first, like black readers first, does not mean it's not for anyone else.
Oh,
Okay, it's um a lot of the times, a lot of people get the impression that when you write something for women, for black people, for the Asian community, for the LGBT community,
mhm.
that doesn't mean that people that are not in that category are excluded or forbidden. Okay.
Hmm.
And this is coming from a black dude that grew up with media and stuff that put straight white men first. Like straight white men are first and everybody else, because don't get me wrong, growing up, I'm a Peter Parker fan. But I don't look like Peter Parker. I am as broke as Peter Parker, but I do not have an aunt that's been dying of the same ailment for the past 30 freaking years. So, but and I was able to dig with that. I was able to dig with it, and I'm gonna be going to the movies and watching the new Spider-Man movie and all that stuff, just like everybody else. So, stories like this, this is an awesome swashbuckling adventure, in some place that you probably don't know that much about, which means it'll be fun to explore. And with a character that seems pretty aspirational in the same way that like Black Panther or Superman might be, versus cathartic motivational like Spider-Man or most of the X-Men. Am I summing this up pretty well?
You're hitting it. You're hitting it right, the nail right on the head. Yeah, I mean, it's totally accessible to anybody who loves mystical action events. If you love that, you're gonna love this series.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're putting black people first because we're black people, and there's not a lot of us in the the entertainment sphere doing what's being done in this comic. But at the same time, like we're writing adventure stories. Like that's universal. That
Yeah.
that's not just for one
Yeah,
people.
and yeah, and this is a fantastic point that you bring up. One of my mentors in the film industry always says that they're talking about people want something original, something that we haven't seen before, something that we haven't done this. And I think back to Rod Serling talking about the black actors back in the 1960s when he was writing for the Twilight Zone, and he was like, there is an amazing market of untapped potential when it comes to actors right here, and when it comes to original stories. I talked yesterday, okay, about how there is no such thing as an original story. However, there are stories that your audience has not been exposed to. It may not be a brand new original idea, but it's new to everybody that's looking at it. And this is something that I personally got into when I was a young wizard and I was studying culture and mythology of the world, from West African folklore, East African folklore, Greek, Palestinian, Serbian. Like a lot of common themes came across, but their approaches to it were always very different from each other, and that felt original enough. So, a pirate adventure or sort of an adventure story with a higher quality than Alan Quartermain, uh, um, you know, up and down the African coast and on the shores of Mogadishu sounds just as refreshing and adventure filled as a lot of people might be asking for right now.
We call it sword and soul. That is ideally what the genre is called. But no, so I am a fan. I am a reader. I consume entertainment content in almost any genre. And for me, just like you're saying, the juice is not necessarily that these heroes' journeys are completely original. No, the juice is when you add extra cultural context and extra lingual context and extra, different regions, different areas. When you add all of that up, like different societal aspects to these stories, then you do get a different story. You do get something that feels original, even though it's still the hero's journey. So, uh, whenever I was watching Shang-Chi a couple weeks ago, and Shang-Chi is the hero's journey, even within the smaller microcosm of Marvel movies, it's the same thing, right?
Very much
But
so.
but the nuances added to Shang-Chi make it more vibrant, make it you know, more make it fresh. And I think adding other cultures to the hero's journey that we've seen for 1,000 years uh, makes these genres more full.
You know,
Um,
you just totally took away my hood card right there because you said the word. You said the word. You said fresh. Okay.
yes,
And you know, because when I was growing up, everything was, oh man, that is fresh. Like fresh predates dope. And
yes,
but yeah, and that right there, what you just said, that shines the biggest light. And I'm talking to you too, Red Hulk, um, about what people might really be asking for when they're asking for original. Are you asking for something that you've never seen or a fresh take on something that might be familiar and relatively comfortable? You know, it's the difference between a steak that's cooked in butter and rosemary and a steak that's cooked with olive oil and garlic. You know,
there
it's
you
still
go.
steak.
Right,
It's still steak,
right,
which means it's still gonna be good.
right.
um, you know, but yeah, it's like, you know, are we doing pepper, butter, and rosemary, or are we doing white pepper, cayenne, and garlic? You know, I
Exactly.
mean, you know, again, both of them good.
Right.
And I don't know one person, not one person that is not vegetarian or a pescatarian that would turn down either one of them steaks. You know.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, so man, this is yeah, I'm very glad. I'm very glad that you were able to show up today and talk about this stuff. I'm relatively hyped. I'm hyped. I do gotta run a commercial break if Twitch hasn't already done that. I'm sorry guys, it's a thing. But we will be right back with our guest Jsson Reeves. All right. You know, I was actually thinking if I gotta like say do the commercial thing, might set up like a different angle with like some music playing out type of thing, and I'm like, nah. I cut my teeth like watching TV. Don't get me wrong,
Right.
but you know, and I'm like, yeah, that's right. The only thing I watch regularly is like Stephen Colbert and Seth Meyers now. So, so yeah, that's the whole thing. But yeah, man, this is some good stuff. Now, one of the things that we're going to be talking about on the show is what a lot of the people are here for is role playing games. Now, I know you don't have a whole lot of XP in role playing games, or do you?
Nope.
Oh, okay, all right.
Nope.
And when I say role playing games, I mean tabletop, not video. All
Right.
right,
Just a
all
smidge.
right, cool. But yeah, I think you're gonna like where I'm gonna be taking this. You know, I think you're gonna like. So just, I know you'll be able to keep up because you're an educated man. Um, Yeah, and
I,
we're back. What's going on, guys? What's going on? So I'm just talking about we're talking about the stuff that we normally talk about here, which is tabletop role playing games. Now, one of the things that a lot of people don't get, okay, and this is for all y'all that are thinking about being artists of some kind, illustrators, pop artists, and things like that. Um, I love coming up with solutions to stuff. And right now I'm holding Xanathar's Guide for Everything. Okay? This is a $50 role playing book. However, almost every single turn of the page has an illustration of some sort. All right? Not to mention the cover art, which is awesome. You know, somebody had to do that. Somebody had to. And in the worlds of art, filmmaking, voiceover, all that stuff, illustration, a lot of people fall into this idea that the thing you are is hyper specialized. Okay? Like, I'm a writer, I write novels. That is what I do. And it's like, real talk, and I know a lot of you guys like being here, like as he gives a shout out to his chat, like Animosi and Black and White Now in Color and Ladybug times three. What's going on, girl? Let's see, and Lana Ray and Neon Arlecchino and Red Hulk. And I think that's Soy Clubberville. I have no idea what that name means. Um, a lot of people think once you are stuck, like once you start a thing, like, I'm a comic artist. That's what I do. Real talk. When it comes to anything in the arts, the creative, or the maker space, as much as we would love to say, my name is synonymous with comic art, we dance with the one that brung us, which means um, our bills don't go. You're a comic book artist, but I know comics are slowing down. They're like, you best get out there and draw something. So we tend to take the work that we can get, and I'm a big player of things like Magic the Gathering, and I know y'all are from the Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh generation, and lots and lots of D&D, lots and lots of tabletop role-playing games. But all of those things have artists, excuse me, and illustrators. And it doesn't matter
Yeah.
if you specialize in fantasy art or post-apocalyptic art or technical sketches and stuff like that. The work is out there. The work is out there. Um, with some of the artists and stuff that you've worked with, and with the stuff that you do for yourself, have you found that you've had to leave the comic book space with your art and your skill set to pay the bills?
I didn't start in the comic book space.
Do tell.
That is the rub. So let me disabuse anyone of the notion that comics, if you want to draw comics, that you should just do comics. No, do not shut up and dribble. Do many things. um, no, I started. I wanted to do comics, but I realized early on that the avenues toward comics are not necessarily open to a young black dude from New Orleans. So I went all the way around. Um, Funny you should mention art inside the D&D books and the other RPG books, because I've freelanced for Wizards of the Coast. Um,
So that's why
yeah,
you're like, I know a little bit about it. I
I
just
know a little bit about
I
it.
just been published in a couple of books. That's all.
I worked on. I've done little things here and there. I worked on. My main work was on a game they were developing called Dreamblade. I don't think the game ever came out,
What was it
but
called again?
Dreamblade.
Dreamblade.
I did
Okay.
a lot of concept for that thing, but I don't think it ever came out. I've done other small things here and there for Wizards. I did some cards on, what is it called, Lord of the Eight Rings.
A Legend of Five Rings.
Legend
L5R.
of the Five Rings.
L5R.
I did like three cards in one of those sets. So I've done album covers, uh, book illustration, concept art. I actually love doing concept art. I don't get a chance to do a lot of it. Um, I've even done I've done uh, artwork for an article in Esquire. I used to do concept for Hasbro. So I've done almost every sort of entertainment, I guess, art that you can do, and all of that was to move closer to comics. Oddly enough, I've done storyboards, all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But to me, I had to, I guess, I would flip a switch or do a Jedi mind trick on myself. To me, it's all comics. Like anytime I'm solving problems and I'm trying to figure out how to illustrate movement or illustrate scope or textures and what have you. Anytime I'm trying to do any of that, it feels like comics to me. So I can go in and do almost any job as a freelancer. And it fulfills me.
Well, see,
Um,
that is a matter of the filter that you have set on yourself.
right.
Because I know a lot of people, um, when I was working in high technology, and I was working in high technology, and I knew a bunch of musicians. Okay, because a lot of musicians, I've talked about this before, go into high technology because they get their first guitar at 16 and then their amp breaks and they can either fix it themselves or buy another one, and most of them got more time than they got money. Sound familiar, viewers? Want to skip a few, they discover, you know what? I design a better circuit than I write a song. So, but everything that they did, they thought within the concept of music. Okay. And this is actually what this channel is about. Tabletop role playing games takes element from art, music, writing, mathematics, and it provides a working place, a working practice space for all of those skills, and it lets you pick and choose and put yourself through a simulation of them. So it's not just role playing games. Anything that you get good at, you can use that as a filter to your everyday stuff. Just so happens that on this channel we do it as geeks because that's just what we do. Every time you say, what would Captain America do in this situation? Or, wow, this is a problem I can't punch my way out of. How would Superman solve it? You know, if I were running this, what are my probabilities of actually getting through this situation with causing the least amount of collateral damage? Or hell, just when coming up with what to do over the next part of your vacation, what would be a compelling story for me to tell later? But I see everything through stories. I see everything through narratives, and I like to think cinematically because I don't want to think I wasted all that money on film school. So, so yeah, that is very much a thing that that we like doing, and I'm glad that you really clarified that because, again, a lot of folks get caught in this what I like to call silver bullet thinking. Okay, um, silver bullet, one solution, the solution for everything, the one thing, and we would love for Fireball to work for everything. We would love that. We would love if Counterspell was the it. We would love if there's one thing that covers all the stuff. But life is complicated, and people are also complicated. So there are lots of different things. And when we're looking at problem solving and how are we going to fix our budget, when we look at problem solving, problems of the world in general, or when we just look at what we want to do when we grow up, um, I know a lot of people that want to do comic art. I know a lot of people that want to do anime. But the fact of the matter is the larger scope, okay, the larger scope, um, is what life really comes down to. Like, there's a reason in D&D you can multi-class, you know, and that you get more than one spell. Granted, you might just use Fireball, but there's still Prestidigitation, Mage Hand. You still get to learn computer hacking skills in cyberpunk games, and not everything can be solved with one catch-all thing. So if you guys are looking to be artists, make art, sell art. Okay, that's the whole thing. Try not to sell it to people who would normally spit on you if not for the art, but yeah, make art, sell the art. If you're a writer, write. Okay, write your stories. If it's fan fiction, fine, write your fan fiction. Maybe one day you might want to create a world of your own and you'll be able to take your fan fiction and evolve that into something else. If you're a GM, write your stories, run your games, play some other games. But don't lock yourself into this one thing, because we don't live in a world where that pays the bills externally, and it definitely doesn't pay the bills internally. You know, someone said that variety is the spice of life, but consistency is key. And I believe in that. I believe in consistently having variety, um, consistently having choices. And you don't have to mute yourself, man. Into the conversation. you know, so have the conversations. Expand your world, study other cultures, and write stories about your journey on that. Um, Listen to different musics. I know um being a musician, and I'm primarily a rock musician because it's the music I enjoy playing most, outside of, fusion jazz, because I'm a glutton for self-punishment. Uh, um, what, man? That's hard. Like, take the hardest music that there is, jazz, and mix it with something else. you know, uh, you know. But yeah,
No,
when I was studying like metal, a friend of mine gave me some surf rock stuff from the 1950s, and I'm like, man, what is this BS? And I listened to it, and I'm like, this is stupid. This is this. And then that same friend took his record player, plugged it into his amp, and turned the distortion on. And I got it. I totally understood at that point that so much stuff that I loved from metal came from the Beach Boys. Just put through distortion. Or God, who was it? Like, I've been teaching my girl about early Metallica, and I'm a big Cliff Burton fan because I'm a bass player, but his songwriting came directly out of Bach and Brahms. And I'm like, look at these classical runs on the bass guitar that no one can hear other than a bass player. And she's like, dude, this guy was good. I'm like, duh, you know? Um, and like, it's all the best people. And when I say the best, I don't mean the most principalic or the highest of character, but the people who are best in their field have a wide range of study. You know, there was a guy that I knew that loved painting wolves, and he spent, like, I think he got his associates in veterinary anthropology because he was studying wolves, their bone structure, their muscle connections, the way that they move dynamically, the way that they sit, how their ears communicate it with the rest of their bodies. And I'm like, bruh, you were going real deep with this.
I was reading I started reading the Steven Universe art book
Mm,
recently, and Rebecca Sugar was talking about her brother and sort of the way he processes art or his art. And she says he problem solves by taking on one particular thing, one particular subject, or whatever, and he learns that thing or that subject by creating art around it. So she said one weekend he wanted to learn how to draw birds. So he did a comic that focused on the birds. And in that weekend, in that labor intensive uh, run to create this comic, he learned how to draw birds.
yeah.
And I think that's a real beneficial way to learn how to do things. Like, if you want to learn concept art, take on a concept art. It'll
Yeah.
force you to figure out how to do that. If you want to learn comics, take on a comic project. It'll
Yeah.
force you to learn how to do that. Yeah. So I can totally see something branching out of that particular project. And then, then you learn, then you get that degree. Like, that's,
Yep.
you know, and it introduces you to things that you might not have previously known that you're good at or that you want to learn more about. You do want to get that degree after you've drawn birds for like 48 hours.
No, it's very true. There is an old expression from the 1950s that is, I could write a book, and what that meant, guys, is way, 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 way back in the day, the only way you could write a book was if you really knew what you were talking about. And I'm not just talking about like an academic text, but back in the days of Heinlein, Asimov, and earlier. Okay, um, if you guys ever have the time, I challenge you to read a Heinlein book, any Heinlein book. Now the dude was an engineer, so when he wrote about future tech, he went into future tech. All right, he talked about how a spacesuit fit, or how using gloves is awkward at the beginning, but after about 6 or 7 hours, you go into that. Um, And this is one of the reasons that documentaries and well thought out plots and games take so long. Because where I come from, they say all the time you cannot transmit that which you have not got. So if you want to really transmit something, transmit a story, transmit something within art, be it you want to write a story about a particular emotion, or you want to invoke particular emotions, or invoke memories, or even look like you know what you're talking about in the age where everybody looks up everything on Google to point out where you went wrong. um, it's really important to study those things. So a breadth of knowledge, a breadth
Yes,
of experience. Um,
absolutely. I've been reading. I this over the summer. I went on a Jules Verne binge, and
ah,
that dude seemed like he really knew what he was talking about when he talked about the ocean and volcanic rock and stuff.
he was a
It's
sailor, bro.
yeah, yeah. Like he loved the damn sea because man,
Oh
he
yeah,
went in
yeah.
on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like
I recommend to a lot of people who haven't yet, if they're getting into Dune because of the new movie, listen to an audiobook of the Quran. Uh, um, because Frank Herbert really based the framing on the Palestinians and the Bedouins.
mhm.
And there's a lot of stuff that comes down there. But again, that breadth of knowledge, the more you know. I'll tell you, some of the best RPGs I have ever run were based off of experiences I have had in my life. Because I understood a lot of the plot threads because I'd already lived through it. And I can make up the parts that I didn't know. Like, did I have an antagonist? If I did, what would they think? You know? Um, but all in all, I guess today's takeaway is this: you can do anything you want, you can be anything that you want, you can make a career out of just about anything if you put in the work, you get lucky enough to meet the right people, and you honestly focus on getting the resources and the access that you need. Okay? You get those three things, you can do anything, anything at all. You know, and not gonna lie, all these people from humble beginnings, like I'm a self-made man. All it took was a $10 million loan from my father. Yeah, that bought you the access and the tools. But
Right.
for the rest of us normal folk down here, I'm not gonna lie. Having the careers in art, like be it stand-up comedy, writing, being an artist, consists of always getting better at your craft because you're never done, and then beating your head against a brick wall until it cracks.
Mhm. So true.
you know,
So true.
But honestly, if you are on this channel or you are watching this right now, I will, all right? I will run an ad. You just stop that. I'm telling these people what they need to know. If you are on this channel and you're watching this, there is someone right here that knows that you are strong enough and tough enough to keep beating your head against those walls, and wise enough, or at least smart enough. And look at a D&D sheet. Intelligence is what you know, wisdom is what you understand. um, Wise enough and intelligent enough to hit that same spot or look for those weak points, you know? Um, and there's no doubt in my mind that any of you guys can do it. There's no doubt in my mind that all of you can. But there's also mathematics that say that not all of you will. And that's cool too. you know, I'll tell you honestly, I didn't have the endurance to keep beating my head against the wall of Hollywood. But I'm here on Twitch and I'm happy here. And I'm happy talking to you guys, doing my best to teach you guys and bringing in awesome people to talk to you about what's possible and how it's done right now. Mileage may vary in 5 or 10 years,
Totally.
you know?
One
So,
of my favorite pieces of advice comes from DuckTales. Scrooge McDuck tells the nephew, work smarter, not harder. we have the internet. It's like the vastness of human collective information.
Don't
Google
tell
it.
me we're walking around with the Library of Alexandria in our pocket.
Listen, I don't know. I don't know if we have that particular library, but we got something. And go ahead on and use it. Work smarter. That's the whole point of learning all these different disciplines is that you can combine them into one successful discipline. I think, and or a couple successful disciplines. Okay, fine. But you definitely want to have those pieces because more hands make light work. You know,
I'm
that's my
with that.
mentor always said.
Yes. More hands make light work, and you may go faster alone, but we go farther together. I want to thank you for being here today. Tell the people where they can find you.
Well, first things first, go to Kickstarter, try and get the Jade Obelisk 2. Get you some goodies. We got hoodies, we got t-shirts, we got comics, we got all kinds of stuff. Check it out, please. And where you can find me, 133art.com is the hub for all of our comics and our merchandise. I am at 133art or at 133art Publishing on all social media. Our partners are mvmedia.com. That's where you can find the very first Changa Safari series, Changa Safari 1, 2, 3, and the 2 origin books. And I run a comic book distribution business called Black Indie Comics Distro, Big Distro for short. And we sell the community, the Black community's comics to comic shops and bookstores. So check that out too.
Oh yeah, so you're just swimming in spare time. That's just...
Yeah. I got man. I can't wait to go sit in front of the couch and watch TV. Yeah, so much spare time.
Oh man. Well, again, thank you very much for being here. And of
Thank
course,
you
guys,
for having me.
and of course, guys, do not forget what we went through today. Check out the stuff, get the merchandise, and again, I know we normally talk about games, but geek stuff is way beyond that. And I just want to start. I want to wrap up today with a little bit of a story from my youth and who I want to thank. All right, fine. All right, fine. I'll wrap it up. Anyway, thank you guys for showing up today. If you just got here and you want to join the show, it is a little bit late, but you can always send me an email over at backinthedeck@gmail.com. It's BACKINTHEDECK@gmail.com. You can also hit me up on the social media that everybody has, being Twitter and Instagram, also at Back in the Deck. If you are part of that wretched hive of scum and villainy known as Facebook, then join Deckers on the Book and show us your art. Talk to us about the games that you're running. Ask questions about mechanics, and you know what? I'll look them up and I will help you out with all that. If you got questions about, well, what should I major in next? You know what? There's always going to be somebody that are willing to help. But honestly, we Deckers actually give a crap. So, hey, we might, you never know. You might actually have friends. And I keep trolls and Nazis out of our chats here on Twitch, over on YouTube, and of course, in Deckers on the Book. I've got a real hard fan hammer, and it speaks German and remembers the days before them. And with that, I want to thank our special guest today, Jsson Reeves, and I want to give a major shout out to our royalty tier on Patreon, our queen, Jennifer Kroll, our queen, Laura Holton, our king, Jason Hines, our king, Christopher Chalmers, and our ace in the hole, Chili Watson. And of course, all of our people in the chat. We're talking Anna Mosey, another TTV viewer, Black and White Now in Color. I think it's Capsips06, Ladybug ×3, Ladybug, Lana Ray, and Neon Arlecchino, Red Hulk, Smash and Burn. And of course, Soy Clubberville and Streamlabs. Thank you guys for being here today. And remember, if anybody tells you that you can't like what you like because of the circumstances of your birth, be it race, religion, creed, gender identity, sexual orientation, your disabilities, or your budget, you just tell them to take any of those cards they're pulling on you and put them back in the deck. This is Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, saying thank you for joining me, and we will see you next time on the dark side of the room.